Pauline Kezer is the president of the Alden Kindred of America, Inc., and visited with Julie via Zoom to talk about this historical site located in Duxbury.
Pauline Kezer, welcome so much. You are the president of the Alden Kindred of America. Could you let our viewers know exactly what this is, this organization?
Certainly, and thank you for having me here this morning. The Alden Kindred of America was formed early in 1906 and to own and protect the Alden land in Duxbury, Mass., which included a house and next door on the first site on the high school property. It is today a National Historic Landmark. It's run by the Alden Kindred of America. We have people that belong to the Alden Kindred because they have the lineage descendancy, but we also have people belong just because they want to support the organization as well. So today we sit in Duxbury on 5 acres. It was 5 years ago. We expanded the place and bought the land next door that was originally ours anyway, so that we now can expand the facility. We keep generations of lineage for our members. We serve the community. We have education programs for the Duxbury schools for years and years for third and fifth graders and high schoolers, do internships there. And we open to the public in the summer months for visitors, and we have programs kind of year round, but inside the facility is really small.
Okay, great.
So that's what we are.
Okay, question. For anyone who doesn't know, the story of John and Priscilla Alden is pretty miraculous and amazing. Can you just briefly give that synopsis?
Yes, I will. It's really interesting because it was made famous by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, the poet who wrote The Courtship of Miles Standish. And supposedly, Priscilla came over as a child. She was 16 on that trip over, and John was not a pilgrim, but he was the cooper hired onto the ship. And they landed. Of course, they lost half the people the first year in a pandemic, and people were looking around to grow the colony. And Miles Standish had lost his wife, and there weren't too many eligible women. There were only 4 women left in the colony, and at that time Priscilla was 17, so she wasn't considered a woman. So, long story short, Miles Standish's sidekick was John Alden. He was very good with his hands and wood and stuff. He did everything for him. So he sent him to do his bidding, and supposedly the spunky lady Priscilla Mullins put her hands on her hips after a long, odd conversation, awkward, and said, "Speak for thyself, John." Well, we've taken that "Speak for thyself, John" as a real tagline to the Alden Kindred story, because there was Priscilla speaking for herself and asking him to do the same. And they married a couple of years later and had 10 children. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of descendants. And the people on that Mayflower, 10% of the population is in some way directly related to everybody on that ship. It's pretty amazing. And they produce presidents, 9 presidents. We have 3. So it's a wonderful story. It deserves to be told. It deserves to be understood. It deserves to be celebrated.
Right. And historically, over the last probably 10 to 20 years, people have been more and more interested in their lineage and in their history of their families. Now, you're saying that 10%?
That's true because of Ancestry.com and the types of what the computers have allowed us to do to find out. That's why this whole burst of interest in roots. I think it's deeper than that, though. People are interested in their roots because they're looking for how their past becomes their future. I think there's a big sense of belonging, a sense of finding people's roots. I'm at the Alden Kindred sometimes in the summer, and people in one day will come from Denmark and California and Texas. I'm like, whoa, how'd you find us? They came because they wanted to see the house.
Right.
I think they're related.
Now let's talk a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah, let's talk about the property itself, and it's almost like a living museum. And how is it now, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, originally the tract of land was based on the Mayflower Compact, and Priscilla owned her shares, and so did Alden. So together they had about 100 acres. Now we sit on 2.5 acres 4 years ago until we picked up the 2.5 acre piece next to it. And so now we have 5 acres and we got to look at our property differently. We have the Alden house sitting on there. We have a barn that was constructed in the 1990s, which provides a small meeting place for about 25 to 30 and a set of couple of offices underneath. It's far too small for what we want to do. Even the third graders that come over from Duxbury, and they come over in groups of 90 children. It's pretty overwhelming. You have to split them all up. So one of the things we need to do is we need more space. Secondly, we need to tell the story a different way. I think this past year taught us a lot of lessons. We did so many virtual programs. Now we have people all over the world listening to us, hearing us, wanting to come, wanting to experience what they could do if they came virtually. And that is the whole idea of the Living History Center. We want to add on to the barn a two-story um, barn-like looking place that would have the ability to do that. It will be a smart building. Today's museums are very interactive, very technical, and very interesting, and people love them. The ones A lot of people haven't seen this yet. And this in a small place, we do that in a small way to make a big story and to send it around the world. So that if you were hearth cooking here, people could join us at their home and emulate what was going on at the Alden House.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's a
wonderful.
piece of it.
Yeah, we found that during the pandemic, so many historical sites and museums and the like have gone to virtual programs and probably have a lot more eyes on them than they otherwise would have if they hadn't. Do you agree with that?
Well, we get probably 200-300 for a lecture. Now we couldn't do that in person. However, the new space will allow us to have up to maybe 75 people, which is a nice size venue. It can be used by the community. It could be used by us. It could be used by other families. The Delano family, for instance, has grew up next to the Aldens. Has said, "Geez, we don't have a place to meet." That's perfect. That's perfect to do those things. So, uh, the other thing we have to do is to protect this place. We have anything to be restored in a fashion of, 300-400 years ago is not an easy task. It's an expensive task, and almost every funding source now requires about 100% match. So it's imperative that part of this Alden building campaign we're doing is the building, but part of it is to set aside a fund specifically for preservation of those assets. It's a big job, and we also have the first site which we sits on public land, but we own the site. So that's next door in the back of the lacrosse field, and we're constantly, worried about what's going to happen to that. And we have it designated, but it needs to be designated in a better way, and we're working with the town on that. And what will happen when this Living History Center comes to life is that our programming will be year round. It doesn't have to stop, which means that we are going to be a larger organization. It will cost more to run it. So the third leg of the stool, besides the first two, one was the preservation fund, one was the Living History Museum, is to build that endowment in order to run a larger organization. It's a well thought out plan. We've spent 5 years talking and doing about it. We're hoping that people in the Plymouth area realize the significance of this and will help us. We need everybody's help. If everybody helps a little bit, we'll make it. The total is 2.3 million. Sounds like a big number to me, but it's going to happen in small and mid-sized gifts, I think. And we welcome them. We welcome your viewers to go online and see us at alden.org and take a look.
So people can go there for all their information, and there's a lot of videos I noticed on your website. There's a lot of information, so anyone who wants to know anything about the Alden house or the Alden kinship can certainly do so. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, you're very welcome. It's nice to be here. And we produced a film this year about the history of the house that we'll use in this new center and before. And it was done by all of us. It was just done with love and some talent of some certain board members. And I invite you to take a look at that online. And I invite all your listeners to pay attention to what we're doing. It really makes a difference. It will help us preserve our history and to celebrate it and to make the Alden House and its designation as a National Historic Landmark, the only one in Duxbury, stand out.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that is the
I'd like to
last
be here.
word. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pauline, for joining us today, and best of luck with this whole project.
Thank you. Come visit us.
Thank you, Julie. To learn more, visit www.alden.org.
If you've enjoyed this video by The Local Scene, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching.